equals the hallway echoed with the sound of Patricia's footsteps, a steady rhythm underscoring the air thick with unspoken tension. Midnight had wrapped the city in darkness, a shroud heavy enough to suffocate dreams. Streetlights flickered outside, casting jittery shadows through the translucent curtains as they danced along the cracked walls of her apartment. It was here, in this uncomfortable quiet, that she often confronted a gnawing sensation in the pit of her stomach, an emptiness that seemed to deepen as the hours wore on. Turning the corner into the kitchen, she poured herself a glass of water, the cool liquid grounding her momentarily. Memories surged unbidden, like a relentless tide. She had stumbled across a photograph earlier that day. A snapshot from years past, when laughter had flowed freely, and minds were intoxicated with youthful idealism. Things had changed, though, a hard pivot into a reality she scarcely recognized, and with every glance at that picture, the brisk slap of memory pulled her under again. In those days, she had stood atop her ambitions, convinced that no moral quandary could plague her, as long as she locked eyes with her reflection and saw hope staring back. But hope often faltered under the weight of simple decisions, like the one she had made one excruciating afternoon as the sun bled into a dusty horizon. A small concession, she had told herself. A minor compromise, and yet that decision had set into motion an unraveling that over time stripped her of her convictions. Her thoughts drifted back to the moment, the hiring of Marco, the ambitious intern, so brilliant, so hungry. He had bright eyes that shone with potential, and the moment he walked into the office, she felt that restless stirring within her, the flickering candle of ambition rekindled. But it hadn't taken long before she understood the implications of her decision. The weight of that choice had crept upon her like an encroaching fog. As she nurtured Marco's potential, she felt herself slipping, unwinding into jealousy and fear. Accusations soon came, not outwardly, never directly. They simmered beneath the surface, festering resentment growing in whispers among colleagues. Patricia's favoritism, they claimed, her once bright reputation tarnished in hushed tones. At first, she had leaned heavily into denial, shaking off the murmurs with practiced ease. But guilt began to tickle the back of her mind, an excoriating itch. Every affirmation of his talent felt like a theft. Every moment spent advocating for him contributed to the growing burden she carried. It gnawed at her resolve as the fissures in her conscience widened. Fate, that cunning architect of circumstance, had ensured that the day of reckoning would come, wrapped in the guise of a presentation that would either solidify their success or lead to catastrophe. The night of the presentation loomed. With each tick of the wall clock, Patricia reminisced about the slow descent from cooperation to sabotage. With every detail Marco shared that night, every fresh idea, she felt herself losing the narrative. The presentation devolved into chaos, and in that crucible of anxiety, she found a sense of clarity in betrayal. An impulse drove her. As he spoke, desperation filled her lungs, and a horrifying notion flashed through her mind. Might she secure her position by undermining him? After all, hadn't a fountain of ambition turned many a good soul's heart bitter? When the night finally came to a close, she stood alone at the window, gazing out at the night. The weight of her betrayal clawed at her chest, a phantom pain that grew heavier with the every heartbeat, while shadows danced in the corners of the room, a silent audience to her guilt. The phone rang, a shrill intrusion into her thoughts. As she answered, her heart sank further. It was HR. Marco was gone, unfairly dismissed, his promise extinguished like a candle snuffed out abruptly. She muttered her apologies and feigned surprise, yet his name echoed hollowness within her. The room darkened, leaving her with the stark realization that every insipid justification she had constructed crumbled into dust. Thus, she stood at the crossroads of her moral landscape, shadows deepening around her. Was she to seek redemption for her failure, to fight against the imminent despair that encircled her? Or would she allow fate to twist the knife further, as the weight of her actions lay suffocating on her chest? As she turned her gaze from the window, the world outside seemed to live in vivid color, indifferent